Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar about preparing for your first interview. We really appreciate you all coming out for this webinar. And my name is Jason. I am the Director of Community and User Growth at Tallo. And we also have Jamal with us. Jamal is from the Stride team. He's going to be helping us with some of these tips and tricks to really lock down your first interview. So Jamal, tossing it over to you for a quick introduction.
Good day, good people. Like Jason said, my name is Jamal Seeley. I am a proud student success coach with Stride Career Prep and K-12. I come with 20 plus years of work history, corporate, government, public education, for-profit and nonprofit, where I have been tasked to help young people just like yourself become prepared to make the steps that I once made when I was in your seat long time ago. So pleasure to be here. I hope that we have a very smooth and engaging workshop today.
Perfect. Thanks, Jamal. All right, so I'm going to jump back in and then we're going to head back over to Jamal later in the presentation. So I'm going to go over what we're going to cover today. So you'll understand how to prepare for your interview. So once you get that interview, how do you make sure that you're prepped and ready to go to really lock in that spot? So we're going to share some valuable skills. You'll learn how to find and succeed in your internship, and then taking those first steps. So once you get that internship, and even before it, what are things that you can do to prep a digital portfolio that'll prime you and get you ready for that opportunity? We'd love to start out with some questions for you all in the audience. So you can put this in chat or you can just reflect on it, but want to hear from you all. Your reaction to this statement. I feel confident sharing my goals and experience with potential employers. So do you strongly disagree? Do you strongly agree? Are you somewhere in the middle? Are you neutral? There's no wrong answers, so anything works here, but we just want to get a gauge on where you all stand, how you feel about this. Okay, we have a neutral from Janae, and also a neutral from Matthew. Neutral from Nora. Okay, then you all are in the right place, because if you're feeling neutral, not one way or the other about feeling confident, I am feeling confident that you're going to leave this workshop feeling even better about how to share your experiences, how to highlight some of your best traits and things that you've done previously to secure this internship. We have two more questions for you. I have a resume I could use to land an internship or apprenticeship today. So how are you feeling about that? Do you have a resume that you could share with a potential employer if you wanted to go out later today and apply for an internship or apprenticeship? Okay, I'm seeing a thumbs up as a reaction. That's a great way to respond as well. You'll see the reactions. All right, there we go. So some thumbs up. So I'm going to take those as some agrees, which is great. If you're a Tallo member, maybe you've already created your digital portfolio or your digital resume, which we'll get into in a little bit. But I'm glad to see that some of you already have a resume ready. And if you don't, again, that's okay too. That's what we're here about today. And last question, I feel confident answering common interview questions. So an example might be, what are some strengths that you bring to this job? Or tell us about some previous work experience, or if you haven't worked before, tell us about a club or an extracurricular activity that you've taken part in that relates to this job. So thumbs up if you feel you agree, the applause emoji if you strongly agree, and then a thumbs down if you disagree or strongly disagree. Okay, awesome. I'm seeing some confident people in the audience, which is great. I'm really glad to hear that. It sounds like you all are on the right track. So I'm glad you took some time out today to do even better. Ooh, and we got even a celebrate and a heart, which means maybe you're off the scale with how confident you're feeling, which is good. Okay, so now we're going to start to get into some of the details. So if you already know some of this, great. If you don't, even better. But it's always good to just reinforce some of these best practices because you want to make sure, especially if it's an internship or an apprenticeship that you really want, these tips will help you succeed. So the first is researching the company. Employers really want to know that you've looked into them before and you know what you're getting into, because oftentimes they get a lot of applications for these roles. And so they want people that are passionate about what they're doing, that they know what the job is all about, or this internship or apprenticeship. And so research is critical. And then setting goals. Talking about goals that you want to accomplish during your internship or apprenticeship. We recommend 3 just to have at least a few that you can talk through. But again, this shows the employer that you've put some thought to this and you have some of your own direction that you're looking to accomplish. And so setting some goals, that might look like leading a project or establishing a team. So think about what you want to accomplish through your internship or apprenticeship, and then tie your experience to the role. So again, if you don't have any work experience already, that's okay. Clubs are a great way, or any extracurricular activities to show that you've been taking active steps to advance yourself in your education or your career. Even talking about sports, anything that you do in and outside of school that relates to the role. So maybe it's teamwork. You can talk about how you work on your sports team together. Anything is relevant as long as you make sure that you can tie it back to some of the key points that they're looking for in this internship or apprenticeship. And then lastly, when you're preparing, think about some questions that you want to ask the person that's interviewing you about the role. It shows that you're interested, it shows that you're engaged and that you really want this role. So think about what you'd want to ask to get some more clarity, or even about the person that's interviewing you. Maybe you ask them what's their favorite part about working for the company. Give them some time to talk and share about themselves too. It really helps in the long run and helps you stand out from other applicants. So downloading your resume. So if you're already a member of Tallo, we have a great platform for you to create a digital resume. And the great thing about this is once you create your resume on Tallo, we'll send you relevant opportunities that are aligned to your next steps and the industries that you're interested in. But then you're able to download your resume. And so you'll see on the screen what that looks like. You can download it in a PDF version or a Microsoft Word version, and it's ready to go. You can send that directly to the employer that you'll be interviewing with, but this resume really helps crystallize the experience that you're bringing to the table, some of your key skills and traits. And so the resume is the first thing that they're going to see. So you want to make sure that it's on point and it's something that you're proud of. Hiring companies use resumes to guide the interviews. So they're going to look through that resume. And if you said you were part of a Unity club on campus, they're going to potentially ask you more about that. So just make sure once you write your resume, look it over one more time and make sure you feel good about talking through the points that you've listed. Crafting your resume helps you remember details. This is a really good part of your interview prep. As you're creating your resume, it makes you think about what have I accomplished and what do I want to highlight. And so they're great talking points for you as you go into your interview. And then make sure that you have your resume handy. So typically I always like to print one out when I go in person so that if they don't have it in front of them, you can hand one to them. So they've often read it maybe in their email beforehand, but they might not have one on hand. And so it's great It just shows that extra effort and extra ambition that you have by bringing a copy with you. So just make sure you have your resume handy. So goal setting before your interview. So take some time before you interview to set some goals that are relevant to the opportunity. So whatever the internship or apprenticeship is, what are some goals that you would like to attach to that internship or apprenticeship? So here are some questions that will help guide some of that. So what do you want to gain from this opportunity? And then why do you want to work in this industry? So whether it's healthcare or technology or construction, whatever industry you're interested in, that's great. And hopefully this internship or apprenticeship is in that industry that you're interested in. So let that passion shine through, because employers, again, they love if you're really interested in the job and they know that you want to grow in that industry. It shows that you're highly motivated and that you're taking those first steps. And then goal setting. Oh, and then after the session, that's okay, we can go to the next slide. So after the session, just to recap, some of the things that you can do is research the company. Again, we're going through some of these tips and tricks. So research the company, write down your goals, download your resume, and then tie your experience to the role. And then last but not least, I'm sure you all have some family members or friends or even a teacher, someone that you're close with that could help you out by practicing your interview. This is really helpful because if the first time you talk through some of these questions is in the interview, I know I get nervous a lot if I'm going in for a role that I'm really interested in. And so it really helps to talk it through, practice some of those questions, and really condense down what you're trying to say so that when you talk with your employer, you're ready to go. Perfect. So we just wanted to cover over some of those tips and tricks, but Jamal has so much experience that he has to share. So I'm going to turn it over to him and he's going to take it from here.
Thank you so much, Jason. What a great way to get started. And the beautiful thing about my presentation is not going to be anything that you didn't hear from Jason. We're just going to dive a little deeper. Please indicate in the chat if you can see my slide. Don't spell check it for grammatical errors and typos. Just let me know if you can see it, right? Thank you so much. So this is interview tips. Again, I'm a part of the Stride K-12 student success coaching team. So I'm not by myself. I actually represent a team of individuals that work with K-12 scholars like yourself to practice, to design, to implement everything that you heard from Jason and more. So more about that a little later. Let's dive a little deeper. Interview tips. So you heard Jason talk about research. All right, well, okay, Jamal, well, what am I researching? Just write these three things down, and my most engaged participants, you can even put it in the chat. Number one, you're going to research the position. You don't have to go any farther than the job description or the little blurb on the website, or however you get not accommodated, however you get exposed to the position that you're interested in. It usually comes with a description of the position. You want to study that intimately. You also want to do some research on the organization or the company that the position is held at. And you can use the company's website. It is the best and usually most up-to-date information that you can get, some anecdotal information, and then you can also go down the rabbit hole and take a deep dive. What you're looking for is right on the company's website. But if you want to find out more, try platforms like Google and LinkedIn and Glassdoor, and just type in the company's name, right? Or the organization's name. If it's a school or educational institution, you can go to NACE and all of these different online resources that are right here on this slide, right? And then the last thing is, you heard Jason talk about, look into the industry. For example, when I was a young guy, I got a job at Foot Locker. I was interested in sneakers and selling sneakers and getting a discount. I knew a little bit about Foot Locker. I had to research it online, but I also knew about the athletic apparel industry. What did I know? That Foot Locker was in direct competition with other stores like Foot Action, and then it was a sister store or a collaborator with other stores like Champs and Kids and Ladies Foot Locker, right? So I had to be familiar with the athletic apparel industry. And one of the things I learned, which was really cool, was that Foot Locker was owned by a parent organization that actually owned Foot Locker, Ladies Foot Locker, Kids Foot Locker, Champs, and the East Bay, my favorite, the East Bay magazine, which is now online, right? And so now I'm in the interview with information swirling around in my head that resonates with me, that really means something to me. So when I start to ask questions at the end of the interview, they're coming from a real and meaningful place. I'm not just asking superficial, stereotypical interview questions like, tell me about a day in a life in this position. Like, you can ask that if you really want to, but if you do the research, you're going to find other things that resonate with you, that is going to arm you with the ability to ask real questions. Some other things that you want to research. Is it this organization and this position involved in products or services? Without a brand, we talked about competitors. Who's their customers, right? Where are they headquartered at? CEO, things of that nature. You really want to get used to doing this now, because it may not be as significant to you now, but later on down the line, it will be when you start to really get your career started, and practice makes perfect, right? So, number 2, finding the interview. If you're going physically or virtually, there's always a pathway or directions to get to where you're going. And one of the most underestimated things about the interview is actually getting there, right? And being on time. Make sure you have solid directions. Make sure if you are interviewing on a video platform like Zoom or Teams or another platform, make sure your bandwidth on your internet is functioning properly. You may want to hardwire your Ethernet wire in it. Make sure the link that you have been provided is an actual active link, right? And then try to get there 10 to 15 minutes early so that you can be in place and gather your nerves and your energy and be prepared, right? This is what we call getting into the zone, getting your mind wrapped around what it is that you're getting ready to do. And then number 3, take a deep breath and relax. You did your research. You got to the interview on time. Everything else you got under control, right? So you have to relax and settle yourself. And there's some breathing techniques that you can do. You can look up online. There's some visualization tactics and techniques that you can use. You can look that stuff online. Just little quick hitters to help you relax and gather yourself, because being excited and nervous is natural. Don't shy away from that. Use it. Use that energy to show enthusiasm and confidence in the interview. Next, and I'm going to give you I'm going to give you 2 tools, and then we're going to be done. And I want to answer all the questions that you have, right? Put questions in the chat right now, or as I say stuff. If you really like or feel what I'm saying, throw some indicators in the chat, throw some emojis. Just let me know you're out there, you're listening to me. So the first tool that I'm going to give you to put in your tool bag to get you ready for the interview is the 90-second commercial, otherwise known as the elevator pitch. This is a technique that is utilized to expose yourself to somebody in a purposeful way. If you're on an elevator and you can get it all out before the elevator ride is over, right? This prevents you from having to ramble and go on and on and on and forget the question that was asked to you in the first place. The 90-second commercial prepares you for the most often asked interview question out there, which is simply to tell me about yourself. Well, hi, my name is Jamal. You already know that. I really would love to work here at Netflix because I love movies. Matter of fact, I watched one just before this interview, the 2011 remake of one of my favorite movies from the 80s, Footloose. I know a lot about movies, and I really wanted to get into the film and service industry around producing and distributing film. And there's no better way to do that than interviewing and working, even if it's unpaid, with a beautiful organization like Netflix, because of your ability to change with the times and still produce meaningful content for so many users across the planet. If you would love to hear more about how I can contribute to what Netflix is doing, here's my information. I would love for you to get in contact with me at a later date, right? That's an elevator pitch. And that's right off the top of my head. I made that totally up. If you like that, let me know if you liked it, right? So it addresses that all important question, tell me about yourself. It's the first opportunity that you get to set the tone for an introduction that you just made. It's like the thesis statement of a essay that you're writing in your English class, right? It allows you to commit and communicate a key message. The key message in my elevator pitch is I love movies and I want to learn more about how I can get into the business, right? And then this takes care of the first impression, because the first impression is the lasting one, right? And you never get a second chance to make a first impression, is what they say, right? So that is the elevator pitch. Also, some other things that you can include in your elevator pitch. Basic information. You could tell a quick story about yourself, like why you picked the organization. I think I covered that, why I picked Netflix. You can even insert things like hobbies and career interests. I told a quick story about how I love movies. I even gave an anecdote of the movie that I just watched most recently, right? And then if you have time, if it goes, more so toward that 90-second time mark, if you have the time, then you can also interject things like projects that you worked on and other activities, extracurricular, things around your campus, things in your school, community service and student organizations and things of that nature, right? This is just a quick conversation, the 90-second commercial or elevator pitch. You can even talk about experiences, some of your, more favorable attributes, right? Always be ready to articulate your strengths. Have at least 3 already proactively programmed into your pitch, whether you're asked them or not, have them ready, right? And then also you want to close. See, my closing was strong. Here's my information, right? I could give a phone number, an email address, a social media handle or contact, because I would really love to hear more. And if you would like to hear how I can help your organization out, please get in contact with me soon, right? Or you can be a little bit more direct and ask for maybe a LinkedIn page or an Instagram page of the organization, or from the person that represents the organization that you are interested in working with. You can write it out, but don't memorize it verbatim. You want it to be natural and flow. So if you write it out, write key points, talking points and bullets and things that you want to include, and practice. You can practice anywhere you go, anytime you meet anybody new, anytime you are in a new situation and you want to introduce yourself, practice your elevator pitch. I love questions. Put questions in the chat about the elevator pitch and we'll cover them before we're done. And lastly, the STAR technique. This is the other big tool to put in your tool bag, the STAR technique. STAR is an acronym for situation, task, action, and result. This is just a fancy way of telling a story, because your energy and your excitement level is going to be up. You may even be a bit nervous. And when you start to receive questions in the interview, you may start to ramble and go on and on and on. the STAR technique is a effective technique in storytelling. It is direct, it is intuitive, logical, meaningful, and personalized, right? So this helps you field what we call behavioral-based questions. A lot of times in an interview, the interviewer will ask you questions about past behavior and how that might be able to forecast future habits if you were to get the job. So if I was an interviewer and I wanted to ask you a behavior-based question, that would probably sound something like, tell me about a time when you were a part of a team or a group and you had to accomplish a specific task collectively, but you were having a hard time getting started. Well, thank you for asking me that question. Well, there was a time in my science class where we had to facilitate a chemistry experiment with the people that sat at my table and that were on my team. Now, the experiment was to analyze the effects of different chemical substances in their natural habitat and their effect on each other. Because it was a classroom, there was a little nervousness. Some people were a little apprehensive because they didn't know what to expect, and we wanted all to be safe. So what I did was I reminded everyone of all of the safety protocols that we were given at the top of the semester as to how we could do this experiment in the most safe way. As a result, we reviewed the safety protocols and everybody felt comfortable, and we were able to complete all of the experiments within the time frame that we were given. And as a result, we all got high scores on our team project with these chemical experiments. See, that I didn't go into what Johnny had on and the type of sneakers Melissa was wearing and what Jessica said, because she was afraid to mix the vinegar and the baking soda. Like, I didn't go into all of that. I just gave you the anecdotal, very top level information that's key to show how I performed in this situation in the past, to indicate where my mind is and how I can be an asset going forward. Very, very important, very, very important interview skill is using the STAR technique. What you want to do is resist the temptation to say the situation was, this was the task, and here's the action and the result. I caught myself in my STAR technique when I said the result was, right? Because an experienced interviewer is going to know exactly what you're doing. You don't want to tip their hand too much. You just want to be natural and flowing and organic. But make no mistake about it, the STAR technique is one of the most effective ways to keep your interview on track and keep you in the driver's seat, because that's what it's about. It's a conversation. It gives you the ability to talk about the person that you talk about the least, unless you're Jay-Z. And that is yourself, right? You have most of us have the least practice about talking about ourselves, right? So this gives you a way and a format to feel comfortable doing that. So I'm going to go back a slide. I want y'all to remember the elevator pitch. Put that in your tool bag. The STAR technique. Put that in your tool bag. I'm going to go back. Elevator pitch. Take a screenshot. Take out your smartphone and take a picture of your laptop, whatever it is you need to do, because I don't want you to forget. And then the STAR technique. Now, if you like what you heard, here is my team. You can go to, and I'm going to put it in the chat, the Stride Career Prep Student Success Coaching page, and you can click a link to match you to a student success coach. If you like what you heard, pick me. But if the videos and the credentials of my teammates interest you and you feel like you could get more from someone else, by all means, pick another one of my teammates, right? But we're going to help you with certain things like interview prep, getting your resume together, helping you go over your Tallo profile, helping you to find do the search for internships, apprenticeships, and part-time jobs. And then all of the soft skills and confidence building techniques that we have to give you from our wealth of experience as student success coaches. And then make sure you download all of the resources that we have. For example, your high school internship handbook. This is a free download where you can learn how to ask the right questions during the interview and find out what you can do as an intern, so on and so forth. This is all on the Stride Student Success Coaching page. And thank you so much. I gave you a lot of information in a short amount of time. I would love to answer any questions that you have. And I'm looking in the Q&A. Africa says, are there resources to practice with a mentor, the STAR prep techniques? I'm sure there are. There are a lot of online mock interview resources that you can find. I would just Google mock interview resources, and you can do that. There are alums and family members and parents. I heard Jason speak that you could utilize their help. Anyone that you may see within your network, within your circle, that is doing a semblance of what you might want to do professionally, that's a great person to ask to help, and a great way to get help is to say, hey, I was wondering if you would give me some advice. I'm preparing for an interview. What do you think I should do? Can I practice with you? Simbella says, so you have to keep it simple and talk only about the question asked. Absolutely. Don't forget the question, because you may answer it, but you may not answer the question that was asked. I've interviewed hundreds, if not thousands, of young people prepping them, and you'd be surprised how often interviewers, because of their nervousness or lack of preparation around how to answer a question, you'd be surprised about how many people actually don't answer the question that's asked. Am I a part of Skills USA? I am not. And then there's an anonymous attendee says, where can I view the recording of this presentation? This will be afforded to you as soon as we finish up. Janae asks, how can I help with college? How can this help with college? And will this already get us a part-time job? This absolutely can help you with college, because a part of the college admissions process is and are interviews. You're going to be interviewed by the admissions counselor. You could be interviewed by alums that are in your area that represent the school that you may go to. If you go to an informational session, an information session for prospective students, the elevator pitch especially, right? This definitely can help you in college and get into college. Did you ever use the STAR technique in elevator pitch when you were younger? I was naturally gregarious and charismatic, so I did, but it wasn't on purpose. I didn't know what I was doing until somebody taught me much, much later what these actual techniques were, right? I'm a bit long-winded, but yes, I did some semblance of it when I was younger, but I didn't know what I was doing. And the last question is, I want to be in the military. There's not much people in my family that are in it. That's okay, but there's a lot of veterans out there that would love, right, to contribute some of their information and knowledge and impart that onto you based on their experience. There are organizations for Veterans Affairs on mostly every college campus that have students that would love to give back to someone like you, Sky. And then there's other ways that you can also get help with military career advice if that's what you want to do. Join. I'm probably the first male in my family that did not serve actively in the military. So my father, my grandfather, his uncles, all of them served. So there's so many people out there, and I can help you with it as well because of my experience with Veterans Affairs. Any other questions? I know we're running out of time, and I don't want to belabor the point.
I'm gonna jump in because we've actually gone over, but it's because you just had so much good content, Jamal. So in the reactions in the chat, if we can give a thank you, round of applause, thumbs up for Jamal. Really appreciate your time. And for all of you that joined us today, this has been a part of Internship and Apprenticeship Week. And so if you're interested in gaining an internship, getting an apprenticeship, you can navigate here. We're going to throw the link in chat, but we're hosting more workshops like this to get you a competitive edge. And tomorrow, we're hosting an Ask Me Everything on the community with a Volvo intern, an intern that's working at Volvo. So you can ask your questions. Nicolette, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll be able to see these opportunities. It's that first one, the Volvo Analyst Intern. You can put your questions in the comment. You can earn another career readiness badge, as well as be entered into a chance for a $25 Amazon gift card just for putting your questions that you might have for it's Gian is his name, and he is an intern analyst at Volvo. So again, we really appreciate your time coming out, and thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in Internship and Apprenticeship Week. Take care, everyone.